Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Sharav Radio.
Welcome to SnowCappin, the special edition of the Ave Podcast. Spoiler alerts, if you haven't watched the show yet, you might want to pause this pod and go watch it, and then come back and listen to this pod and see if we're right or wrong. Outside of that, you know, we've been doing this for the last few weeks now. You know the rules of the game. I got my South Sharav family member, Kevin W., with me. And before I ask you what your thoughts were on this episode, Kevin, a mother's love escalates quickly, huh?
Whew. In more ways than one, yes. Hell hath no fury, Calvin. Hell hath no fury. Goodness.
What are your thoughts on this episode, on episode 9?
Possibly one of the best episodes I've seen all season. Actually, I will go there. One of the best episodes I've seen all season. And this season's been fire as a whole. But we were always talking about when we're reaching the boiling point, it's starting to percolate. You know what I mean? It
done percolated. It done percolated.
Let's say that it boiled. Yes. There was some sizzle on this episode, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well written, well paced, well timed. I was uncomfortable for the entire episode, which was great because I really didn't know what was going to happen. Like there were so many twists, turns. The gaslighting, as the kids would say, these Trojan horses, these hidden surprises,
Mm-hmm.
Like I was on eggshells. I think it was brilliant.
I think so too. I thought this episode was the best one of this season so far. I thought so, and yet I can't rank it a 10 because I got a couple of bones to pick with this at first. So this series or this season is based on from the year 1986, right? Correct.
Go on.
Yeah. So you would say it's about 6 or 7 years before this poet or this writer decided to get tattoos, get some UNLV gear and a headband, and start writing about his mom. If you get my drift. So Tupac, right, wrote this song called Dear Mama back in 91, 92, 93 and showed all this love. A man that really loves his mama. Had this song come out in 1986, maybe he influences Franklin to maybe leave his mama out of harm's way. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, I know he's involved into this point, but did he really have to bring her to the safe house?
Every woman in Franklin's life. Every woman got invited.
And the reason why I'm saying this because I'm like, if you bring in agents into a safe house, you've gone way past the line at this point. If you brought agents, CIA and the KGB agents to the safe house with bags over their heads, out of the trunk of the car, and you are actually not affiliated with a government or one of the alphabet boys, you've gone way too far. So to bring your mama into this situation, it didn't sit right with me. And of course, the mom's being a mom, right? She's trying to be as conscious. You know what I mean? Like she wants answers, she wants these different things, but she's recognizing my son's going way too far, right? And she's trying to, she's trying to be the voice of reason. I mean, even at one point, she told V to shut up.
Zach, I love that one.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But, again, when you're bringing somebody to the safe house, and again, we here at South Sharav don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form. Right.
I mean, yes, we.
But with that said, you're bringing somebody into a safe house. You're not looking for a voice of reason anymore, Kevin. So why would you bring your mom in harm's way? Meaning, and everybody who's watched the show, she ends up doing what she's doing because, and we'll touch on that in a moment, but like, she ends up doing what she's doing partly because of what she's seeing, the results of what she's seeing from this safe house and the action that comes forth with it. I mean, it's accumulation of everything, but it's triggered by what happens out of this safe house. So why would you bring the mama to the safe house? And at the same time, there's no way he's going to see that $37 million. The mom sees it, but Franklin's so far gone that he just wants the money. You know what I mean? He'll deal with whatever happens after. He just wants the money. So it's like, I get it. But that move alone, costed him his money and for good. Well,
it didn't cost him his money. He was not going to get that. Well, sorry, we let's touch on that in a bit. But I will say, if I can, I think because I'm pretty sure that Franklin and his mom would have had a conversation. The fact that, Teddy murdered his father and her husband, that, I'll get my hands on him and, something. For I don't know if it was just going to be Franklin operating all together and then meet up with her later. So what happened tonight? Oh, actually, we found Teddy, got him. We had him at a safe house, and then I handled my business, and now he's dead, kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. I figured she would have wanted to have a moment. Let me talk to him for a minute, or when you get your hands on him, you let me know. You know what I mean? Because anytime someone's tied up, like when Louis was tied up or whatever, there's usually some people that come by to say hello before whatever's supposed to happen to you.
Right.
Right. So in a similar type of situation, I think that's why. Now, why this warehouse seems to be collecting all characters at the same time? Go for it, Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Go for it. Because all major players, basically, all converged on this one place, like it's Martin's apartment or Seinfeld's apartment. Everyone's in there.
Let's go with Martin's apartment.
Well, just to appeal to a broader audience, Calvin. But anyway, but Franklin's descent, I actually felt him going mad. At a certain point. And that was, again, shout out to the actor. But it was really I could see some parts where I'm like, this kid's about to lose it.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned for Teddy, for Teddy Ruxpin in that chair there. You know what I mean? So, but the way they played that out. Did you see it coming?
You mean the way the scene played out? No, we're gonna save that.
Right. All right.
We're gonna save that. The other parts I'll add is, so the episode actually made me go back and just watch how season 5 ended. You know what I mean? Because I think I said at the beginning of the series that I binge watch all of 22. I binge watched the whole series. So you watch so much of these shows. Some of the seasons, certain things, it just gets mixed into one point. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to go back and watch certain things and separate it. So I went back and I watched season 5, and there's little Easter eggs or points that tie into, comes back into this point now. So it tells me that for just on that part alone, it's a really good show, man. And we're gonna have to revisit some of that too. But it's a really good show, man. It made me appreciate how well thought out this show is. And from the cinematography of how they open the trunk, if you watch the last episode of season 5, you'll understand
the first 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. The point of view from how they open the trunk, and also kind of reminded me and understanding why Oso would have a long memory like an elephant, right? But boy, looking back on this and looking back on these, I actually tell you, I skimmed through 9 and 10. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I skimmed through 9 and 10. Man, looking back on it now, you understand why everybody hates Louis. The whole, that's not my problem. It's my turn now. In retrospect, man, that really pissed me off. Especially seeing how things turn out now. But it's to our earlier points. This business breeds slights, envies, and jealousies. So you understand. You know what I mean? But man, whew, Watching those 2 episodes or skimming through those 2 episodes, it makes you almost have a disdain for Louis.
The drop of a dime,
I'm trying to be, impartial. I'm impartial because I get her point of view. I still do. But I understand why people wanted her gone.
Hindsight, do you wish that her warehouse scene would have played out differently?
No, actually, I don't.
Good safe answer, Calvin.
I don't.
Anyway.
I don't actually.
Okay. So would you have been you wouldn't have felt any type of way if Jerome would have walked out of that situation and Louis was laid down to rest versus what we got? You were good. You were good either way.
Well, the thing is, the fact that Jerome dies in it, it actually makes for a better show because you don't see it coming. You know what I mean? And then you have those real emotions to it. If Louis dies in the crossfire, then that part's a little more predictable. We don't expect Jerome to die. We expect either nobody dies or maybe Louis dies. We don't expect Jerome to die. So I think that's what makes it a better show because now you have real emotions to it now. So that's why I'm like, no, I would keep it the way it is. Everything they're doing right now is great. I wouldn't really change a thing outside of why would Franklin bring his mama in? Like I said, clearly, Dear Mama was made way too late.
Somebody in his family was going to be responsible for, or was going to have Teddy on their hit list. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Franklin got he got his bones in. He got to cause Teddy some pain, and Sissy in return also got to. She retaliated pretty swiftly. But to be fair, that was a kind of a prickish, disregard for Sissy's emotions.
Oh, well, yes, I totally agree. And you know what? Not to cut you off, but your thoughts. Let's go right into it right now. Your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Franklin and Teddy and their truth sharing moments in the safe house?
My thoughts are that Franklin and Teddy's dialogue, basically, it's very similar to what Sissy and Teddy's dialogue were. And that is from a standpoint of, people involved in the game and living in the Black community and their outcry and their it's like they were spokespeople for the Black community and Teddy was a spokesperson for the government. Cold, heartless, you know what I mean? We have a mission to do. We have freedom to uphold or something, and that's it. If we have to step on you to do it, we'll do it.
It's collateral damage. Yeah.
We didn't tell you to put the crack rock in your hand. We didn't put the pipe in your hand. Why don't you do something? Like that kind of very dismissive. It was brilliant, actually. But it's one of those it's one of those dialogues where you get to speak like how the Batman would talk to the Joker, or like that scene in Heat when you try to find out why the bad guy why they do what they do, and it's just one of those insights into their character.
No,
that I loved.
No, good point. Good point. I love and it's a great point. I didn't even think about that part of it. I love that too. Like when he goes into that, it was. There's the have and the have-nots, but then there's the haves and the haves. So that was a conversation between the haves and the haves. You know what I'm saying?
And the other thing is, it's like, okay, well, I made this, and it's also from somebody who's earned money, and then they're just like, nope, I'm taking it. And that's what some people feel in regards to some governments as well. Like, yo, I made this money. I earned it. Who cares if it's nefarious or not? It's mine. Well, it's mine now. And you're never going to get 100% of it, but maybe I'll compromise with you. And you need me. Even though he's tied up and his chest is, well, I don't know if his chest was boiled at that point, but it was very...
No, not yet. That was pre-boiled.
Right. That's when they were still in they were still having some sort of conversation,
Yeah,
right?
the shirt was still buttoned.
Right. But it was very symbolic. And I mean, it's one of those little things in the show where, I mean, there's emotion involved. It's a cold game, right? But there's just like the emotion involved, the pain from Sissy, and then like, Franklin's thoughts where he's like, I thought we could have been friends, barbecue and this, that, whatever. Like, I thought, it's like, I never, no, he's just going to use you and replace you as soon as possible. But they all use and replace each other. So it was beautiful. Beautiful.
It was the best part of the show. It was the best. It was, and honestly, I would argue that was the best 10 minutes of the season. Right up until Teddy offers him to split the cash, because you knew obviously it wasn't going to end well with him trying to work that difference out. But then again, you can also argue that at that point, how is he going to get that money? You know what I mean? Like, without him melting him to a crisp. And to me, the reason why it's the best part of the season is because they needed to meet up. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, through the torture, we get to the roots of why Teddy did what he did. Franklin, in the midst of that barbaric and demonic torture, because I mean, they could have used hot water too. At the base of it all, they just want clarity. We want clarity. You know what I mean? And he goes out to lay his feelings out on the partnership. Like, to your point, right? Like, the fact that if you caught that, like the fact that like Teddy, towards the end, this is post chest boil, where he whimpers out like, I wanted to hurt you, because you left me. And Franklin's eyes welled up with tears. It echoes that fact, because at the base of it all, it comes down to respect and hurt feelings. They needed to have that one last moment, as the main figures of the show. But, I think the unpredictability of Teddy not making it to the last episode is actually pretty amazing, being that the two main figures. The show, to me, Kevin, is actually really carving out like its own uniqueness as a really good piece of work in this lane. I won't rank it with the others of the other great shows, but yeah, I just think like we needed that moment. I think they needed it, but we as fans, us as like, taking in this content, like I think we all needed to see them have that moment. And it's cool to not have it in the we're gonna shoot each other until one of us dies moment, like how normally it would go on a TV show.
Yeah.
Like I think like like New York Undercover with like JC and Danny Court shooting each other up until Ice-T dies in the in the port, right? Like we're talking. No, there's a real dialogue as to why that happened. Like, think about like that. What I'm referring to in New York Undercover. How much better would that have been if they had that one final moment where they're really laying it on the table as enemies? You know what I mean? That to me is like, I thought that was brilliant. Like, it wasn't just we're gonna get each other until we maim each other. It was like, well, I mean, there was maiming, but there was at least some dialogue as to why. We got to the roots as to why. Sure, it took some flesh melting, but we got to the roots of why.
Okay. Did you think he was actually going to boil him?
No.
Okay.
No, I did not. I really did not.
I kind of did, but I don't think that was his first intention either. I think that's V's suggestion, because he's like, remember when he was talking to her, he's like, I tried everything. I think I was about to get him to break, and then V's just like, she went to the store and she had the grease. Then she tells the story and she's like, I hope you do the right thing. And she just walks out. Gangster boy. Yikes.
So is V officially a Bonnie now?
She'll be gone. I mean, there's less than one episode, but I don't. There's a side to her. I think she's earned her stripes.
Yeah, like when she pulled the coronel out like Beyonce or a black woman with the hot sauce out the purse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, At that point, Kevin, I'll be honest. At that point, I wasn't thinking that she was thinking of her mom waiting for her at the airport.
I think that's always going to be in her back pocket, in her mind. I just think that she wants to know that she doesn't want to show up with an empty bag. So whatever might help her get some of this money would help, would be appreciated. So she didn't boil Teddy. She just brought a pot and some cookies and some grease. Sorry, and brought some oil to a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
But
she sparked the idea.
Yeah, you could kind of say that.
Mm-hmm.
Because Franklin came back with a different tune, and you remember when she was talking to him, and Franklin's in the background, he's just like flicking a lighter, and he's letting her take care of the talking. Teamwork makes the dream work, Calvin.
Yeah, I think she got the official stamp of loyalty, of approval after that, in terms of being a Bonnie, right to his Clyde. Like it was officially stamped. Also, and we're going to talk more about this scene, of course, because that's, again, to me, that's the most important scene of this series, or the best, however you want to rate it. But how harsh was that corn oil scene, bro? What was worse? Was seeing the aftermath of Teddy's core worse, or hearing his blood-curdling screams when he's getting burnt up? Which one was worse?
The screams when they cut away to everybody else in the warehouse, including the KGB agent. Even he was like, what's going on over, but like everybody was just, what's going on in there? And good for us that we didn't get to see it. Props to to their special effects department.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have your Dear Mama critique, my critique is I doubt highly that Teddy would be able to walk and function the way that he did after having his chest boiled off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's no walking to anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've been tortured for at least a day. Like, I figure there'd be some sort of, like, he should. I don't even know how he's still alive, tell you the truth. But
he was breathing very labored.
But he the wound wasn't treated, and that's his entire chest. And that hot oil didn't just stop on his chest; it probably ran past the belt. Right? It goes down. So
and through tissue. It doesn't just stop at the skin.
All right. So the screams to me is what did it. Because Teddy does not scream. Teddy always had this melodic, almost was it Javier Bardem, No Country for Old Men kind of mood. Even though he could be a drastic murderer, right? A cold-hearted, calculated murderer. Even so, he still had this like the innocent puppy dog look kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. I forget what the breed of dog is. I'm not doing myself any favors right now comparing him to a dog, but he had that sloping, but anyway, let's just say that
he cold switches from murderer to a quivering bastard when he's in trouble.
But even like the eyebrows and stuff, where he just seems like he's concerned, like he's caring and innocent. And for him to just to yell out and well done, because today is all about show me like kind of thing, right? Like we're the show me generation, but this one's just like, nope, I will let your imagination
run wild with it.
Imagine what's going on with Franklin and this guy.
Oh, the screams was it for me too. The screams was worse than the result. To be honest, when I saw his chest, I wanted to see it, but then after that, I was like, the screams was actually worse. Maybe I'm too desensitized from all the video games and the Generation X, man. I'm telling you, we've seen too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe that's why. But the screams was worse. The screams was definitely worse.
Can I ask you one question?
Go ahead.
What did you think about the Russian roulette scene?
Oh man, that was fire too.
I know. This is all in the same episode.
And again, we don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form here at South Sharav. Disclaimer ended. Go on.
I thought that when we were talking about Franklin's descent into madness.
Yeah.
To the point where he had Russian roulette going. He had the boiling oil going, and Leon and Sissy had to intervene. And it's like, I was just like, now who's the addict? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Franklin's addicted to his money, like the streets are addicted to his product. You know what I mean? He would stop at nothing to get it. You'd step over your own family to get your fix, and that's exactly what he was doing. When Leon had to hold him, because Leon's murdered people too.
I know.
And like it's just like, yo, dude.
And even he's like, yo, you can't go down this road, bro.
Exactly. And he didn't let up. Like, whew. Anyway,
but to touch on an earlier point, the callous way that Teddy dismissed Sissy at the phone booth tells me two things. Right up until the end, he was still trying to play this like a game. Like right until the end, even though his chest is burnt off and he got beyond humbled, But like the way he discarded her emotionally, to your point, it's almost like you got checkmated in chess. And you just throw the chess pieces all over the room, just when you're in anger when you lose. Like it was just like getting mad at the chess piece, like the pawn. Like you friggin' didn't do your job, pawn, and just throwing it against the wall. Like that's kind of how we treated her in that last moment. So which leads me to number 2. When you think of Sissy's history with the CIA and how they've made her feel, and now she feels like they took everything from her, you can expect them to get shot at that point when you think about it that way. It's almost predictable at that point. But man, Kevin, I was really hoping she would have let him do the transfer first, just for Franklin's sake. Yeah, we know he's out to lunch. Yeah, we know there's probably a good chance he's not going to get that money. You just wanted to see it, though, because we went through all the torture. We went through the whole scene. We get to this point. At least let the transfer go through.
Then I don't think the transfer was going to go through.
I know, but still.
Calvin, I don't think that you're going to burn Teddy's chest when he's like, I have people to live for, and he was just going to cut 37 some odd million, which apparently Teddy was just going to keep for himself. Oh, who knew about it? Just him, his supervisor, and
Parisa,
and the Washington guy. Right. That told him shut it down, kind of. Those are the only 3 people that knew about it, right?
Right.
But I don't know. If you know anything about, nah. Franklin would have been dead. So I think Sissy saw through that too. Like enough with the games, because he played games with her emotions. Mm-hmm. Right at that point, say that, okay, you killed him. No, he's not dead. He's in a hotel in Puerto Rico, or he's in a jail in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, where is he? Let me talk to him, kind of thing. Are you kidding me?
Are you an idiot? Are you dumb?
Shot him twice and I left him in the room. He's gone. All right. Do you really think she thinks that he was about to execute the transfer, that he didn't have some sort of
ulterior motive or some plan to come back and get back at this? I agree.
If she could play with, if he could play with my emotions regarding my husband, he can play with my son in regards to his money. I don't think there's any way. I mean, reparations are hard enough to get, let alone you getting drug money back from the government.
Right.
Sorry.
And after, Teddy taking the money, going through the whole season and putting him on a God complex, at the point where he's getting his chest burned, do you think at that moment he was thinking, hey, maybe I should have just took a finder's fee instead, or just some tax? Maybe leave him with like $30 million?
Since when is anybody involved in this game thinking on a collective scale, I'm good, I have enough? Since when does anybody not play for keeps? 100% keeps.
Oh, no, I know that. I'm just saying that at that point where his nipples are getting seared, you think at that point he was like, you know what, maybe like $10 million I could have left for him, like, and to the point where, like, and I love the scene. Like I said, I refer back to that dialogue where Franklin's telling him, like, you could have left me with $5 million. He's like, I still would have came after you, but at least you would, like, I would have saw, like, you at least you value me, but you clean. Why did you clean me out? Like, after all that, he's still like, yo, why did you clean me out? Like, clean me out? Yeah. Like, you didn't even leave me crumbs. You cleaned me out.
The crime of passion, Calvin. You try to hurt somebody, right?
Yeah.
So Teddy said it. I wanted to hurt you. I wanted you to feel the same level of hurt. Now, is Teddy being sincere that he really liked Franklin? No, because he was going to turn Franklin in as soon as the operation was done. His whole modus operandi was to keep these drugs moving to serve his country. That was his ultimate thing. He wanted to prove himself to his father. He wanted to prove himself to his government, and he wanted to prove himself to Parisa. Basically, right? Yeah, right. Parisa was going to be his that's who he was, who he had plans on having as his final Shawshank moment with. You know what I mean? Retire on the beach. We made it out alive. We're set, kind of thing. The rest of his life was just dedicated to just to the job. You know what I mean? And yeah, if he has to clean out a street kid from Compton, California, he'll do it. He's not leaving you with any change. No, he'll tax you 100%. And you'd have thrown him in jail or killed him. Right? Wash his hands of him.
How much aloe vera do you think he needs for his chest?
Now.
You think well, not now, but I mean prior to his shots. How much you think? 2 plants? 3 plants of aloe vera? How much you think? It's more than a few stocks.
Well, seeing as it's 1986, I don't think that he was buying a lot of lotion. Based off the demographics.
I mean the actual plant. I don't mean the lotion. I mean the actual plant. And does Parisa love him enough to rub that into his skin for it to properly heal for the next year?
With $37.5 million? Maybe. But with zero?
It wouldn't have well, she definitely wouldn't have been bored.
She wouldn't even share a banana with him, Calvin. Do you think she's going to take the time to start cutting up aloe leaves?
Oh man!
And the funny thing is, go figure, right? At the very least, with Teddy, he was willing to part with half. That's the most that he was willing to part with. He offered half to Parisa. Remember?
Yeah, that's true.
And then he offered Franklin, I can't give you all of it. I can give you half. Because, he feels like he worked for some, Parisa was just going to get it. You went through my things and you found the ring and my, whatever. And you only grabbed yourself fruit. Here's $37.5 million. Oh, I actually worked with you. We murdered people together. We protected each other. We got things moving to move the project along. You get 37. You could possibly get $37.5 million.
That's the same. That's the same. That value's the equivalent.
I'll let you do the formula. Find out what the exponent is. But yeah, go ahead.
It's funny though, because going back to thinking of the general in DC, and I can't remember the guy's name right now, but the guy who's
superior.
Yeah. So basically, you think back on that, how they just shut it down, wipe everything out. Because last night I actually was flipping through the channels and I was watching. I got about halfway through on Casino, which I haven't seen in so long. I appreciate that movie. Wow, Joe Pesci is like a legend at cursing. It's just wow. He makes it like a different language. But the whole thing of when Sam Rothstein and Nikki end up having that tension and and it's getting ugly and stuff, and the older heads are basically like, in a similar way, shut this down and just start wiping everybody out.
The heads in Kansas City.
Right, the heads in Kansas, exactly. So this part of, I refer back to the second to last episode of season 5, right? Like I told you, I kind of skimmed through those 2 episodes, and you watch it back again, like Gustavo warns Teddy, like after he does the first drop with Louis. He warns him, like, you sure you want to turn family against each other? He's like, you sure you want to do that, bro? Like, that's a blood feud ends ugly for everybody. Like, that's not something you want. And I remember Teddy just brushed it off, like, he's like, whatever. Franklin will get over it. And he's like, Franklin's young. He's got his ego. He's successful. Like, this may come back kind of thing. Don't worry. You'll get over it. it makes me think of that. It's like it's just similar parallels of like coming to that point in the end where you're just like, do you just wish you went back to how things were? You know what I mean? Maybe you shouldn't have cut him out. Maybe we should have figured this out. You know what I mean? And just go further. But you know, once you're in that game and you go too deep, you just dive deeper into the abyss. You don't come up for water. Come up for air. Sorry, you don't come up for air.
So it was like a lot of our, we know a lot of like, let's say, our Caribbean parents that don't speak too much. You know, but it's kind of like foreshadowing. Like, you know, this is gonna blow up in your face, right? I'll be fine. You sure you don't want to bring a scarf? You want to wear a scarf? No, I'm tough. Okay, you know what I mean? And they're done with it. And then when you're sick, you see, someone was too big for a scarf. Someone want to play big man,
well,
and that's.
Well, I'm a parent. I'm a parent now, so yes, I now see. I'm on the other. I'm on the other side of the 180. Yes, I understand my parents now.
Also, man, he doesn't say much, but okay. Do you think he's gone? That's it?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a good question. Until you asked it, I said yes. To be honest, I think he has to. I don't. It would not be smart for him to come back.
So Franklin just dropped him off. I don't know where Franklin dropped him off.
Well, to go wherever they went, wherever his family was, that's where he dropped him off to. I'm assuming. That's what we all assume. I mean, he's such a big figure too. But like to me, if he comes back, I would almost be like, okay, cool, we get to see Oso one more time. But also, why would you come back?
Dude,
you're out. You're out.
No,
Teddy, like Teddy's being taken care of. The DA got wiped out. You know, well, we don't know what's happening with the KGB yet, but different passports. He's got his money, you know, under the table, his $1 million. His family's safe. Why would you come back?
Side note. How good was Teddy, even though he was stuck in that warehouse? He timed, this was his brain, right? He timed how long Franklin was gone for. And he's like, you were gone for a bit. Figure, what, couple hours? Somewhere in northern Mexico? You know what I mean? Like, are you serious? This is the brain that you're dealing with, thinking you were, you know, there's no way he was going to get his money. None. You can't hide from him. It's like Terminator 2.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I mean, he's gone now. They don't know where he's at. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense for Oso to come back. That would actually be dumb. That would actually be dumb for him to come back. But I mean, we don't know. Again, you know, it's kind of like, you know, as Raptor fans, how we talk about, you know, the famous slogan in Masai we trust. At this point, you got to just trust the writers right now. If they do bring him back, like, I would be annoyed, but I'm gonna kind of give it the benefit of the doubt to see what happens first. That's where I am with it. But I think it would be crazy if he came back. I think he's gone. But now you're asking the question. Now I'm not so sure. But I'm still going to hold on hope that thinks he's gone, because just common sense, it would just be dumb if he came back. What reason would it be for him to come back other than to save Franklin? And if he saves Franklin, he's either going to be dead or he's going to get caught and go to jail for 30, 40, 50 years.
I think he's good. Based off the way his wife was just talking to him, you know, I think he knows. Okay, playtime's over. All right, dear, I'm coming. You know, That's it. And I'm glad he made it out.
Yeah,
if he's indeed gone, because I liked his character. He did what he had to do, and yeah, I think he saw the writing on the wall too, unlike Franklin. But I think he saw the writing on the wall, so it was time for him to leave. So much so, like, no one even brought him a car or anything like that. He just walked.
Yeah.
It's good, you know? But, yeah.
But he's on the other side. And, you know, I appreciate that. And the way it ends off, too, like, you know, they kind of have their moment. He's walking off, and Franklin's, before he hops back on his plane, it's like, you know, like, oh, so, you know, like, that to me kind of says, like, he's not coming back. That was our goodbye, you know, to Oso, I think. But we'll see. What are your predictions for the finale?
Oh man. There are too many paychecks still being cut. So I think a couple people need to be taken out before the end credits. I'm thinking 2 deaths, multiple arrests, and I mean, Sissy's going to jail. So,
well, yeah,
you know,
that goes without saying.
So that's done. Yeah. I don't know how this. I am at wit's end. I don't know how this ends, but I know that not everyone can make it out clean, especially now that a government, like, okay, certain auxiliary characters, I get it. You know, Jerome was a major character. He's gone. I get it. Teddy's gone now. He's not just like one of the main rotation characters, but he's also a government agent. So I usually expect, like, usually the reaction is somewhat swift, and yeah. The government has that money though, right?
Well, no, because Teddy has the money. He has it in an account.
Yeah, but they probably know they might have
probably
access
it somehow. Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
But they don't have it right now. Technically, like Teddy's an outside consultant at this point, right?
I don't know if they would leave $74 million on the. I'm pretty sure they would draft up a pretty quick power of attorney and have that notarized to get access to that money. But I think there has to be some hell to pay for that. And I hope, like, you think the season finale is going to be an hour or 2?
It can't be an hour. I don't know if it'll be 2 hours, but it can't be an hour. I think there's too much. There's too much to do. Because even if you notice, even this episode went a little longer than an hour. Like, usually the episodes are about 40 to 42 minutes. This is 53 minutes. So it went a little longer than an hour.
Right.
Like, with commercials and all that, right? Like, it went a little longer than an hour. So to me, if they can do, I don't know if it'll be an hour. If it's something like that, or an hour and a half, I think that would be really good. But, it's, you know, I'm thinking it's going to be longer than an hour. Because this episode was actually, and again, because I'm skimming through the last 2 episodes of the last season, the last episode of season 5 was 53 minutes. This was about the same time. It was about the same time length. So we'll see, man. Okay, so, you know, again, I keep referring to how I was skimming. So there's a scene in an episode 9 of last year's episode of season 5 where Franklin takes V on his private jet. And he takes her on this island. They're sitting on the beach, and this is after the LSD episode, after the LSD wedding episode, right, when everybody's tripping and they're having all these visions and thoughts, which makes me want to go back and watch it now in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But, you know, because at first when I watched it, I was just like, this is a weird scene. But now going back, I'm like, oh, this is looking like it's, you know, there was a lot of Easter eggs in this. You know what I mean? And so now I want to go back and watch that episode. But there was a part where he's telling V what he saw, and he was like, you know, telling her the truth about himself and saying like, yo, you know, I've done this, I've done that. I'm a monster, basically. And then she tells her own story, yada, yada, yada. But towards the end, he's like, you know, she's like, you know, you're trying to do good, you're trying to change, you're trying to get out and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I want to do those things. This is, you know, pre having his money taken from him. And before he even found out that that Louis went over his head, right? So this is before he even knows all this, right? But he's basically like, is it too late? Basically saying like, is it too late for me to not be this monster anymore? Like, what if I've gone too far? You know, and I remember the one thing she says is, you know, knowing you, like, you know, at the end of the day, because I think he was even saying like, it wasn't just the fact that I wanted to get to where I needed to go. I also wanted to win, you know, and she's like, you know, at the end of the day, you got to hope you're going to win. Like, you're the monster, so you better win. If you see yourself that way and you're seeing how this is going to play out, she's like, you better win. You know, and then one of the visions he saw in that LSD episode was he saw a vision of Teddy, and he's like, I think we're going to end up trying to kill each other, but he's like, but I'm going to get you before you get me. Well, I mean, it kind of worked out that way, right? So I'm interested to see if it's true to form. Like, is Franklin one of those guys that that meets his demise, like a fatal demise, or does he make it out? Does he go to jail? You know what I mean? Like, his story arc is going to be interesting for this fight. I think everybody wants to know how this is gonna turn out. Is he going to end up dead too? Is that what happens? Like, is this going to be like a Scarface situation? We don't know. And also, I think the biggest thing, Kevin, honestly, I just want this episode to be good. How many series finales have we watched where we were let down?
Game of Thrones season 8. That's all I gotta say. Sorry, the last season of Game of Thrones was absolute. That's one of the worst. I know I touched on it last time. It's one of the worst, or like the Power season finale. I was not a huge fan, if you couldn't tell. But I get what you're saying. I've heard like people. I didn't watch Sopranos, but some people were like down on the Sopranos.
Right. You referenced Seinfeld. Seinfeld, the last episode of Seinfeld, everybody hated that way back in the day. It
was kind of dry. Yeah, I know what they tried to do, but that whole season was kind of dry to be fair.
Most season finales don't end great. Series finales, don't end great.
Right.
And one, sorry not to cut you, but we've been so wrong on these end of the show predictions that it actually makes me laugh. So I almost don't want to predict anymore. I just want a good episode. But sorry, go ahead. Not to cut you. Go ahead.
Oh, make your predictions, man.
No, that is my. It's not a predict. Like I don't really have a prediction. Those are my things. I don't know where this is how this is gonna end. But I'm like, I don't know if Franklin dies or not, or if I want to see how his demise. I'm more curious and interested. But also, like I said, I just want a good episode. I want the series to end on a strong note, like The Wire, like Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? Like shows that are really good or really great. Even if it's not on a high note, it's on a good note at the very least. You know what I mean? Like let's see if they match that. But no, finish your point though. I cut you off too much.
Casualty meter, over or above? Sorry, over or under 2? What do you think?
Oh, over.
Whew, okay. Okay, you're going commando on me here. Okay, that's good. You think off the fame of this show, the producers will let it ride, or do you think, as a lot of Hollywood and studios like to do, they're going to do some sort of spin-off?
Oh, there is. I guess you didn't see there already is a spin-off in the works.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there already is a spin-off in the works.
Sometimes it's just best to leave, like outside of Frasier, sometimes it's just good to leave certain things alone and let them build in their own mystique,
Yeah.
But a lot of times, I don't know. What's this new spinoff supposed to be?
It's featured around Wanda. And it's basically a few years. They fast forwarded a few years, and it's not based on the crack era. It's based on gangster rap.
Good.
So we'll see how that goes. So that's an interesting, unique take on it. I don't know what her perspective is going to be, but there's articles on it already that she's signed off to be in that spinoff. So it's already happening. So at the very least, we know she's not going to die.
Maybe her career will after this script that we're talking about.
Taking her down. What's the negatives talk here? Let the black girl breathe. You can shoot down her career. What's going on with you?
She'll get residuals anyway.
Take it easy.
Let's just stay focused on this glorious show that we have before us. That's coming to an end right during the playoffs. Luckily, I'll have the playoffs to keep me to help ride me through. I don't usually do a week by week. I don't usually watch shows on a weekly basis anymore. I usually do the binge.
Yeah.
But I'm absolutely ecstatic that we've decided to go this route instead and just watch it and be on pins and needles for a few days. Looking forward to Wednesday. which is what few people usually do, aside from it being hump day. But like,
Yeah.
you know, to have a show that's this good and is rewarding our time and investment, you know, like, yes, I'm glad.
Totally agree. And before I wrap it up right now, greatest spin-off show. You mentioned Frasier. I would say A Different World is another one.
Ooh, well played.
Outside of those two, right off the top of my head, I can't think of what's greater than those two in terms of a spin-off show. We've seen spin-off movies, but those don't usually translate that well, like an Entourage, for example. But a spin-off show, that's maybe we got to come back to that. Maybe we should save that for next week and have think about it a little more and see what other shows were great spin-offs.
Right. You're right about A Different World, man. I completely that was oh man. I don't even know how to rank them.
Nah, don't do that. That's gonna burn your brain. Don't do that. But let's just try to put them in a group.
Right. They're both invited to the cookout.
Yes, absolutely. The extra piece of chicken. That's what it gets. But thank you, sir. Let's reconvene next week. We're gonna put this last episode out. The series finale, the finale of SnowCappin. We're gonna put that on April 24th. So, yeah, man. But let's reconvene next week for this.
Bar Scott said, "Can't wait."
Can't wait. Holy crap! Before we forget, you want to talk about Louis for a couple minutes?
You got it.
The situation with Buckley. To your point, like we were about to wrap up, and then we both realized, holy crap, we didn't talk about Louis in this episode, in this context. What do you want to say about Buckley?
I will say that Buckley is the original example of let me go through your phone, and a man falling for that. Listen, how do you not clear your phone after she asks you, did you get a page from my deceased husband asking you for help, and you say no, and you don't immediately clear all your pages or get a new pager altogether? You keep his missed page in your pager and you offer her a ride after extorting her for $500,000?
Yeah.
Glee.
Now, in his defense, I mean, he was high. He's been high.
The crooked cop crackhead has a defense. Go ahead, Calvin.
Yeah, that's the defense. He's been high. Kevin, he stopped off to go take another whiff of the crack pipe.
I thought he was smoking of Jay.
Was that?
I thought he was smoking to Jay as he was taking a. Anyway.
I thought it was whatever. Well, I mean, let's assume even if it was a Jay, there was some crack sprinkled in it. That's my assumption. He's high. He's been high.
Hell of an assumption, but yes.
He's been high. So that
luckily, like, dude, you've done enough. You missed her dead husband's page, and then you're gonna just give her a ride for free. Don't try to extort her for money.
That's called karma. And also, again, he was high. He's high. I mean, you're thinking like this is a rational person making this decision. He's high. That's what's happening. He's high. That's why that happened. But
Are you surprised she left him? She left him on his stomach, and she didn't unload in him.
Yes, I am actually. I am surprised at that. I'm also surprised because I haven't been watching a lot of news about the characters or the actors outside of the show. From what I'm watching, I mean, like they made her do some scenes while she's pregnant. I mean, she's clearly pregnant. I mean, she's doing some running and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's a stunt double in there too. But I mean, damn, like that's some dedication, boy.
She didn't get offered this spinoff that Wanda got.
Maybe she's one of the casualties. Who's to know? And that's the one thing I wanted to say too is I think her and Franklin are definitely going to meet up one more time, and it's not going to be on good terms because she's thinking he snitched him out. I mean, obviously he didn't. You know what I mean? They already knew about him, he was trying to warn her, but she's thinking like, yo, this guy snitched on me after he got what he wanted. So with a gun and some cash, you know, she's trying to find him before she flees the vacates the premises. That's my prediction. I guess that there it is. There's my prediction.
She did take off like a thief in the night. We didn't know where she was going. I don't know if there was that house in Alzio or whatever she was talking about. I don't know if there was anything like that there, but yeah. And she's heartbroken. And she, again, foreshadowing, she says she had nothing left to live for.
Right.
Oh,
well, in real life, that baby. But yeah, on the show. On the show, yeah. No, she has nothing to live for. So yeah, there's my prediction. They're gonna meet up. And it's not gonna be pretty.
We'll see.
Thank you for tuning into the latest edition of SnowCappin on the Ave Podcast. We got one more capping to go, which will be out next Monday. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm sure you have all these ideas cooked up in your head, as do I. We'll break it all down for you on Monday, I promise. After this series is over, for you ball heads, there will be more playoff editions starting next week. I appreciate the support. Like, rate, review, and share the episodes from this platform or wherever you're listening to podcasts. Hit that subscribe button over and over and over again. And the 5 stars. Hit that for me, please, and thank you. And always, check out SouthShoreAve.com, my website that's housed every piece of content that I've ever done under this umbrella. Dive into the catalog one more time for the emphasis. That is SouthShoreAve.com. All right, for Kevin W., this is Cal C. And you just tuned into the latest edition of SnowCappin, special series on the Ave Podcast. We're out.